Hello, and welcome to I'm Below You. This is the third devlog for my Themepark game. Today I'm going to be talking about the next stages of game development for this project, and I'll be showing you what progress I've made so far. So I've been making games for a few years now. I began making games when I was around 16. I made a marble roll around in Unreal. I think I was following some kind of tutorial? I can't remember. But it looked like Marble Blast. And I've started a lot of projects before, but I've only ever really finished one. The only game I've ever finished is Golf Game. Golf Game was a project I worked on with my good friend in the summer of 2021. I was making it for a game jam. I think it was called Autumn Jam? I guess that means I was probably working on it in the autumn, not the summer. It was a month-long project. For reasons in my own life, I had been kicked out of my home and was living with my best friend at the time. They happened to be a musician, so I asked them if they'd write some music for the game. They did, and it's still my favourite part of the whole game. You're listening to it now. The game itself is very simple. You hit a golf ball towards some holes. The golf course is based on a course I lived beside as a young child. I've never played golf before, nor has anyone I know. But as a child, me and my friends would sneak across the golf course, trying to avoid the golfers. We'd take golf balls from the forested areas around. There were so many. The golfers really didn't try very hard to get them back. And I think doing all of that felt like such an adventure to me that it's stayed with me ever since. Every place I've ever lived since, incidentally, has a golf course nearby. I just walk around on it. Something about the uniform green is so beautiful to me. Golf Game isn't just about the golf course. It's barely about golfing. There are no bounds or rounds or rules. You can spawn a new ball if you can't find your old one. You can explore the forest too. For me as a child, it was as much about the forest as the golf course. Ground so rarely trodden by anyone, especially not golfers, who seemed trepidatious to take a step into the forest. Once we even found an abandoned village in those forests with a well that seemed to go on forever. Built from coarsely cut gravel stone, those old houses lacked roofs, and must have been at least 200 years old. I always used to wonder who lived there, and if even a single soul except for us knew that those structures were still around. Golf Game was art. My only goal was to create a beautiful memory from my childhood. Playing this simple game again, I am reminded that I miss my childhood home then as much as I do now. Back then I wanted to recreate the forests the most, making grass and wind and animal sounds one of the main focuses. I think in most games the forests are not accurately portrayed. In a real forest, the canopy mostly covers the sky. The foliage is varied and covers all things. Most game forests are an afterthought. A small number of foliage types and tree types, no thought put into what would grow where. I loved the forests of my childhood. I miss them dearly. I want the visuals of my game to reflect that beauty. I want traveling to feel like an adventure in the depths of a dense forest. I want players to stop and admire the beauty of that forest. Players will feel in this game like they are part of a small rural town, part of nature and the cycle of life. I created everything in the game except the music, meaning the 3D models on my creation too. It was my first time using shaders as well. I created a grass shader that only rendered relative to the player. It doesn't look great, but I was really proud of it at the time. I think one of the things that drove me to finish that project was that I had someone to talk to about it. I talked to my friend every day about what I was doing, and I think that's why I've decided to start this devlog, so you guys can watch along and I can update you as I go. But I've worked on at least a dozen other small projects, and they've never really gotten past the prototype phase, even with external encouragement. So I wondered, what made Golf Game different? Why did I finish that one, even if it was simple? And I realized it was because I found it very fun to write the code, but not nearly as fun to make the 3D models. I'm a coding gal, really. I spend all my time making code and having ideas for the mechanics, but never really focus on visuals. Blender's hard. It's taken me a long time to get to where I am now, and it's hardly professional. But I did make this laboratory. I'm developing a visual style as we speak, and I think my style is definitely toony, but lineless, with minimal shadows. Translating this into 3D is an ongoing effort. This is the newest version of the game I've made so far. You can see there the laboratory that was used in the video. That video was made in Blender, and we're currently in Godot in the newest version. If you're on my Bluesky, this is just a test character for conversations and quests especially. I think this is kind of subconsciously based on Futurama. Like the shape of it, it's like with the dome and stuff, I don't know. The reason I added a laboratory, I think mostly, is because of my interest in science in general. I wanted there to be some kind of scientific aspect in my game. And I thought, you know, there's going to be some kind of astronomy-based thing, but you'll see later. There's no collision for this, you can just walk right through it. I'll add more stuff later on. And so this is the main thing I've been working on. It's a forest. I mostly just wanted to make something that looks like the old bluebell forests from where I grew up. The bluebells are very simple. They're just flat planes with some 3D tetrahedrons attached, and they just look like little bells, you know, they look like the bluebells. I'm not going for a very realistic style. Next is the grass. As you can see, it's just a triangle oriented, and each one is a plane with a 2D texture on it. And yeah, I really like the way that these turned out. I think they look very pretty. I also worked on these trees. They're not based off of any particular tree, they're just a deciduous tree, you know, they just look like a tree. In Blender, I made them with geometry nodes, the baseline, and then I modified it so that it had a reasonable number of vertices. For the leaves, I used a technique where I just layered a bunch of planes on top of each other and then applied a 2D texture to them. I got this technique from YouTube, I'll link it in the description. At the moment, there's only one variation of tree. I can generate as many as I want though, and I plan on generating more. For a forest like this, there should be more stuff later on, things like old tree trunks that are decaying, and details like moss. Especially in the forest I used to grow up in, moss used to grow on the trunks themselves, even on the living trees, and they used to grow on rocks too, so I want to add that as well. As well as other things, I added LODs, and you can see it in the distance. They're not perfect, but I think they look pretty good, especially at a long distance. They really do look similar. They look like the trees up close. This forest isn't as dense as I wanted it to be, but that's okay. This is mostly just for testing. I'm working on other things. I'm working on LODs at the moment. I tried working on a grass LOD, it didn't work out. I couldn't quite figure out how to make it work. For the tree LODs, I just decimated them in Blender. And I'm working on some other things too. I'm working on pine tree at the moment, which is another type of tree that was nearby to where I used to grow up. I remember pine forests, they always used to just have brown floors. They didn't really have this kind of stuff I'd like to implement that too. They used to be very tall trees. So yeah, this is the game as it is right now. I worked on quests as well. When you enter certain areas and you see certain things, then it's added to a Boolean data thing, and your dialogue changes based on what you've seen. But yeah, I really liked how the trees turned out, especially, and I like how the grass turned out. It looks so green. But yeah, see you in the next episode, and thanks for watching.